some more troubles. This is always the problem with virtual worlds.
Who are we inviting? Do you remember?
Who are we inviting? We're inviting Anne and Sunmi and Belinda and Rebecca and Joe and yeah. No.
Rebecca?
Oh yeah, sorry, Rebecca Anderson. Yeah.
And Sunmi?
Yeah, S-E-O-N. There she is. And
it's probably in the. It's in the schedule, isn't it?
yeah. Oh my goodness.
It's a completely different look, isn't it?
Yeah. Might have to change it.
I keep getting the actual schedule.
Yeah. Sign up. Oh, you can't. It's horrible.
I can't read it.
Someone changed the way the thing looks. I can't read it.
So the colours all wrong. So are there isn't it? Oh, okay, Hugh, Belinda,
yeah.
Sunmi, and Anne. So Hugh's the only other one.
And Joe.
Joe. J-O-E.
Yeah.
Joanne Rand.
Yeah. And Jonathan.
Jonathan Broughton, is that him? Or Jonathan Knapp?
Jonathan Broughton.
Yeah. And Hugh.
Okay.
I hope that's working, and people will eventually turn up if they get the phone call. Now, if we want to, I can switch between this area here, which looks like the sound's working on mine, but there's if you switch it across, just see if it comes up on the speaker system. If I'm talking into this, does it come out near the monitors that we're looking at? No, it's not coming out.
Yep.
Can you hear anything over there?
If only it was muted there.
Oh, okay, hold on. Yep. Okay.
Here they are, coming in. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Okay.
Well, Ben's
all right.
here. I can see Ben walking around.
Ben Loveridge.
Yeah.
Is he really in?
Well, he's in behind the wall. I can see, like you can actually tell.
So that's the real Ben.
Yeah, which Ben looks like a girl, but.
Okay. Okay. Maybe he can make it work for us.
Yeah.
All right. Apologies, everyone.
Or should we go out of
getting going. Did you put Kath on an invite?
No.
No. I'll get Kath going. Where's the invite?
Whoa! Ben's actually jumping. I didn't know Ben could jump. So Ben's the real Ben, and I'm the not real Ben, but I've got Ben Loveridge's name.
Okay. That's me in the white. All right. Well,
a student called Ben.
We've got Ben.
Jump.
Ben Loveridge is. We've got.
Ben Loveridge is supposedly the person who's.
We haven't got a Ben student, have we? No. No. We've got a Hugh and an Aaron and a Sam. We need Sam. Oh goodness. Who would ever do this? Why would anyone want to create a virtual world? Pardon?
Okay.
It's a lot of work. Sam.
Now, I'm not saying that everyone will be able to get into the virtual environment, but what I'm sort of hoping is that eventually people might actually come down to this foyer that means that people online, if they're online and can hear me through the Hangout, can log on to the Avaya 3D environment. I just want to know whether they can hear me in the foyer. So I think the sound playing back only plays back in the proximity of the area that you're in. It doesn't play back broadly. This person here, Ben, you've muted your mic. If you say something, I'm just hoping that my headphones or my speaker will actually pick you up. I've actually plugged it in, so it says it's muted, but clearly that might be the problem. It keeps giving me an error message. Which devices do you want to troubleshoot speakers HP? We don't really want troubleshooting that.
No.
So
just
back in here.
But you haven't got any volume. All right.
I'm through. I haven't got volume.
Now, who's there? Okay, Jonathan's there. We've got a big crowd in the online world today. I might swap over so everyone can say hi. There they all are. 1, 2, 3. Did I miss anyone? All this noise is giving me a headache. What can you hear? Sorry. I've muted mine. Perhaps it's Ted's.
It's probably mine.
Yeah.
Which now is not working.
It's not working, so it's fine. Good. Well, now we should get started. And I don't think, did anyone put their names up for readings this week?
There was heaps.
Heaps.
I moved out because there were so many.
So many. So where are they all? Beauty. Okay, we're about to start. I'm trying to find. My mouse doesn't work now. Oh, God, it's not that hard, is it? Oh, there it is.
So I know we've got Anne, Xiaomi, and a few people in this area. I'm just going to go and try and find them.
Yep.
So here they are. I'm saying it's the foyer, but this could be classified as a foyer area. Now, weirdly, there's 4 people here, and because my mic's not working, I don't know why. So I might just try text chat.
I've got to get out of here.
So I'm just talking at the moment. I just want to see whether or not people can hear me. And Ted is Ben actually at the moment because I couldn't be a moderator. Ben. So I'm just saying that.
Okay, I can see the thing now. I've changed it. Look at it's the way it looked. Okay, here we go. Who's going to start? Come on over, Jasmine. We'll, now, you can stand here. You can hold this. And you've got to stand in front of the thing.
Okay.
Now, is Belinda there? You can sit in front of it. Is the sound better now, Belinda? Yes, I can hear both audio, so good. All right, off we go. Apologies. The crazy, crazy world.
Hello, everyone. Okay, very exciting standing here. And the first reading of this week is named University Students' Cognitive Skills and Strategies While Learning in Second Life. And while I was looking at this title, I found there are 2 key concepts in this title. The first one is the cognitive skills, and the second one is the second life. So I looked through all the articles and find the cognitive skills in this article it mentioned about are including some higher order thinking skills like strategy planning, evaluation, metacognizing, justifying, and analyzing, reflecting, etc. And also including some lower order thinking skills such as recalling, confirming, and imaging. And about the second keywords is a Second Life. So I have a look at I never heard of Second Life before. So before I reading this article, and in this article it said the Second Life is a virtual world suited for teaching and learning second language. And one researcher defined this Second Life as Second Life provides learners with personally meaningful, authentic material in the target language. So in this case, it was used as a language learning tool. And then I started to reading this article. I posted 4 questions for myself before I start reading. The first one is, what's the content? The second one is, what's the purpose of this research? And the third question is, what's the background knowledge? And the fourth is, what is the result? And for the first question, what's the content of this experiment? And this research is trying to identify and evaluate the cognitive skills and strategies utilized by students during 90 minutes Second Life Chinese language learning class. And students are required to identify and order appropriate food in Mandarin in a Chinese restaurant setting. And also, it used a screen capture software to record both the avatar's on-screen activity as well as the face of the participant. And the purpose of this research is going to find out what was going on in the students' heads during an educational Second Life experience. And also, there are 3 theories and methodologies mentioned in this article that is contextualized within this experiment. The first one is information processing theory. Second one is the mediating process paradigm. The third one is introspection process tracing methodology. So what's the result of this research? It found out that there are 735 thinking skills appeared during this virtual learning. And some higher order thinking skills such as strategy planning, evaluating, metacognizing, and justifying ranked very high upon all these thinking skills. So it demonstrates that Second Life can be utilized as a cognitive tool to enhance thinking, problem solving, and learning. So after I reading this article, I found the Second Life is a really useful educational tool in nowadays. However, there are some problems I really concerned about. The first problem I concern is the environment created in Second Life is exciting. However, we have to think of the potential addiction issue. It's like, how can we ensure that the students wouldn't addict to it? And the second problem might be there are so many distracting entertainment elements. So how can we, educators, ensure students can focus on educational materials all the time? And the third problems, I think, because this virtual environment was created by people, millions of users around the world. So it's quite complex. So we can't avoid some sexual and violent elements. So how can we protect our students from accessing those bad elements? So that's my sharing for this article.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Wow, sorry.
We could open it up to those 3 questions,
Yeah.
which are good questions in relationship to the problems faced as a starting point. Now, I just noticed that when we've got the Hangout running and people duplicating, so people can actually hear it in the Avail Live. So there's approximate sound level in the online 3D environment, and people can also play it back, what we're actually playing on the Hangout. So people are both in the Hangout tonight, and also in the 3D virtual environment. Now, can I just point out that this environment is slightly different to Second Life in that it is a constrained environment, and I think that problem that was just raised by, sorry, what was your name? Zoe. The problem just raised by Zoe, the last one was or second last one and the last one was that the environment is very complex and has got a large number of distracting elements in Second Life because it is very, very big, and there are millions of different areas or millions of people in there. Usually there's about 500,000 at any one time. I think is some substantial number of people go online in Second Life or used to go online in Second Life in the past. So is there a way that people know of or would like to try out with us of how to either protect our own students if we invite them into a Second Life space, a big space, to avoid, you know, unusual kind of uses? There's lots of activity in Second Life that might not be appropriate for younger people, both violent and sexual of a violent nature perhaps. I'm not saying it is always violent, but there may be things that we don't want our students to get involved in. And secondly, I think the environment is so interesting because there's so much activity in there. It's very easy to get lost or get distracted if you are trying to run it as an environment for even a language course, like learning a foreign language or learning a local language well. It is possible that particular article that we just read is actually, yes, pointing to quite substantial cognitive advantages. I mean, maybe not advantages, they're just, I mean, how many skills did you mention? There's 400 cognitive, 700 cognitive skills that they saw as being possible within Second Life. Now that's possible, but whether or not you could take advantage of that is probably a matter of, can you stop the students getting distracted? Can you locate them somewhere, I suppose? How does anyone know any way in Second Life to prevent things going astray? Or try? You can just guess the answer. And anyone online can try this as well. You can text us in if you think you might have a solution here. Leave Easter eggs for them. That's very nice. That's actually it's not being written into the Avaya area at the moment, but it may actually. People can text in the Avaya area as well if you want to. Not literally. Thanks, Kath. So she's saying leave Easter eggs, but the students have to collect them. That's a great idea. So Easter eggs are just obviously could be symbolic. Well, they could be items that students have to collect. They have to go and find. Often in Second Life and in this Avaya Live area that we're using, which is like Second Life but limited, you can actually put little elements in there that people can go and look for. So they have a task to do. I think that's not a bad idea, Kat. Belinda saying, surely there has to be a way in which you can construct an area of your own use. And Belinda's absolutely right. In Second Life, you can set up, if you purchase, using Linden dollars, which are not actual dollars, but their own currency in Second Life, you can purchase space. Like sometimes people.
Anyone get into that space then, though, or is that space completely then private?
Kathy's created an area. Okay.
Private spaces? Yeah, they're private spaces.
You can lock off the space so that people can't enter it without a password. So, but often people create spaces that are completely open because they want people to enter. But
in schools, sometimes in that school environment where concerns over those things.
Absolutely.
It could be a way to start, obviously, before you open it up, maybe.
Yes, and that is what actually happened. Is that many universities set up spaces which they sort of had a barrier that sort of bounced against you. You couldn't get into this space unless you were invited in with a password or someone actually beamed you in. You could actually be told that you could go to this particular spot and somehow they'd transport you into the space. So RMIT had a space like that. I don't think Melbourne University ever had a space of that nature in Second Life. There were so many concerns, though, about Second Life and the kind of possible, I suppose, dangers or safety issues or questions about adult content that they set up a Second Life for kids, which must have been super popular because it got taken down very quickly. Maybe because a lot of predators went in there who were pretending to be children. I don't know. And it got wrecked. But they did actually have a lot of these questions were raised early on, and Second Life was trying to actually make some decision about that. So that's a very good point. You can actually buy a space. Now, I think Kath's saying she's created areas that they have defined with instruction boards telling them, where to go with that learning goal. So they're still within the kind of open environment of...
what age? Are you able to ask her what age?
Okay, Kath, do you know what age were you working with when you were working in Second Life? What was the age group?
Club Penguins, sorry.
Oh, it's Club Penguins.
No, Club Penguins is another one.
Oh, it's a different one. For Belinda's saying...
virtual world, yeah.
Isn't there some kids available online? Something about penguins. Yeah, Anne's got it. Yeah. Club Penguin. But it isn't really a virtual... I mean, it's mostly penguins.
You have to give an age... You have to give a date of birth to sign in.
Yeah.
But, that can be fake.
Do they have... Yeah, of course. Like,
Get your parents' permission.
like kids who've got Instagram accounts.
Yeah, and lots of Facebook.
Yeah.
Has Kath's obviously used it. Has anyone actually been into Second Life? It's still there. You can still sign in. You can go around.
Yeah.
Don't think much is happening in there.
It is so similar to Avaya, though.
Yeah.
The space that Melbourne University's got a demo account for, they're trialling this. So the space that's up on the screens around the room at the moment is built, I imagine, on the Second Life engine.
To access, say, like Avaya, that obviously is that cost to sign up for an institution or someone to access this?
Yeah, but you can get a 30-day trial account. So if you wanted to just try it out with kids, you could just do a 30-day trial, and that would actually give you a rough idea of how it works.
You know what would be really... Who in this room has got Avaya running?
Avaya.
It won't load on you? All right. Okay, so we've got one. Who else has got one? Who's got Avaya? Avaya Live.
Nobody else in the room?
No.
That's okay. It doesn't seem to run on the local computers in this room, but it did run downstairs in the labs for some strange reason. They must have installed the, I think it's a Java player.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it'd be really interesting just to spend a few minutes, if you can get near a computer that's got one, and actually go in there and have some interaction. Because I wouldn't want to do it for long, but it's just kind of a strange experience if you haven't done it. Just making your avatar, going in there and trying to navigate yourself around. I can see Joe's there. I can see Jace.
Nick, yeah.
You can see me, can you? Where are you? Behind me?
Well, I'm behind you. I'm Ben, though, so that's the trouble. I look like the wrong person.
Yeah, so me hasn't moved. So that's me with the grey hair. And I can do things like, oh, there she is.
There's Sun Me's walk straight over to you.
Hi there. I'm saying, go away. No, I'm saying clap. So I can clap and I can point, and we can...
If people know where Ben Loveridge is, and I'm just over here, I'm just sort of walking.
There's Ben.
Yeah, and there's another Ben in here, which is probably the real Ben Loveridge. But if they can hear us, they might want to just walk around.
There's Ben jumping. See, he flew.
Oh, good on you, Ben.
Whoa.
If we walk around...
Hang on, Ben's going to show us. If we talk to Ben, shall we?
Oh, okay. Maybe Ben can actually talk to us.
So why don't you change, Ben or Nick change the colour of the t-shirt by making it really easier? Because we're both wearing white.
Oh, Ben's now a girl.
Ben's a girl.
With red hair.
It's two of you in white.
Yeah. It's the new black.
Well, Nick and I are both in white. So
but I've got grey hair.
You look like
Look, Ben's over there jumping.
Ben's jumping.
Okay, can we hear Ben?
Ben might actually, if I unplug this, I might be able to get him on here.
Ben's muted. Hi, Ben Learning. Can you unmute? Here we go.
Say something, Ben.
Echo's going everywhere.
Oh, that's probably because we've got both the Google Plus Hangout.
Now, say again, Ben.
The reason there is echo is because people are using their speakers on their computer or having the mic open at the same time. So to avoid echo, if you haven't got a headset mic, just keep the mic muted when you're talking. Press the thing key on the computer.
Oh, look at that.
Okay,
That's great.
Now Ben, I'm really interested in getting people to go across the foyer into one of the conference rooms, but trying to avoid that transporter room that takes them across to the wherever Avaya Sales is, because I went in there by mistake and suddenly got transported into the netherworld. Do you think that you could show us the way across? We're going to follow you, Ben. You're the girl with red hair. And we're going to follow you, and who's jumping. Fantastic, Ben. That's a really good way. If you can just slowly walk towards where we can exit this area to go across to the conference room on the other side of the foyer, not the big upstairs lecture theatre, and I'll see if I can follow you. Oh, that's actually over there, is it? Oh, there people are going up to the upstairs one, which is not where I wanted to go.
How about jump?
You just press the space bar.
Oh.
Okay, well, people are going upstairs. Let's just all go upstairs. That's fine.
Oh, no, he's not.
Is Ben going upstairs?
No, he's going downstairs.
Okay, people are following me down, Ben, and some people are jumping. Great. I'm going to follow you, Ben. So I'm following.
Whoops, wrong way. Oh. I went to a meeting in this thing once, and we spent the whole meeting
walking around,
people banging into the wall, trying to get in, people jumping, people standing up, people sitting down. In the end, we just said, this is stupid, and we went back to Adobe Collaborate or whatever it was, because it was just, and this was all out. This was a national board meeting.
Have a meeting in the meeting.
We had a meeting in the.
He's sitting down. Ben sat down.
Where is he?
Yeah, Ben's sitting down.
Ah, okay. So I'm in the other meeting room. I'll just go into the second.
And you sit. Yeah.
Did you all go upstairs?
No, they've gone downstairs around the side.
How do you walk?
You just press W to walk.
Oops, there
Now,
goes
I'm going to go up to
Thanks,
this screen, Ben. I hope you can hear me. And I'm going to upload a PowerPoint. See, it says, I hope people can see where I'm walking to. I'm just going to right-click on this and upload a file. I can do this, but that's because Ben, who looks like me at this point, has given me moderation rights. So I don't think everybody can do this, Ben. Is that right?
Sunny and I are lost.
Which room do we think for?
I think we're in meeting room 1. So you've got to be across the foyer from where we were.
From stairs.
No, yes, the opposite to the stairs. So you go down the stairs and out through the back where you started from, which is the foyer.
There's Trish. Hi, Trish.
I'm just going to try and upload this file.
So we follow you with Google.
You can try.
I know.
No, I'm just uploading a file, which I hope I can talk to at the same time, which just is it's loaded now. It just says 3D virtual reality in education, or 3D immersive virtual reality in education. Why?
Right. What are you going? Yeah.
Okay, so my expectation is that if we were running a meeting or we had presentations, we could actually do this from this environment. Now, what is interesting, and the other Ben would actually have to help me here, is that I have a feeling that the moderator can give access to uploading in different spaces. This isn't the space that I thought you could. There is a space where you can write, and I think you can. If I walk across to this other wall here, if people wanted to try in the room to just write an answer to a question on this space, there is a public pad here. It says, type here to add one idea you have on how to use virtual learning environments or avatars in learning and why this might be helpful in learning. So if you wanted to try to do that, the introduction we just had may actually give you an idea that it's possible that you might want to use this as a...
What was the question?
Well, my question is, any idea on how to use either virtual learning environments or avatars, which the third reading was on just avatar spaces, how you might use them or why you might use them, and why they might assist learning. To a certain extent, there's some unusual features of these spaces that you need to think about. I mean, there's lots of things that we can say that are difficult about these spaces, like walking around, getting lost. They're very distracting. There's lots going on. It's very hard to obviously keep people together if they get lost. So I'm just interested if people have got anything that they can see either in their own subject area or more broadly, even from the literature that we had for readings, that might be kind of advantageous. Yeah, you can say if you want to.
Similar to, I suppose, when we've talked about the use of wikis or other online platforms, that anonymity, that kind of, I guess, you know, goes with it, where those students who may be, you know, face-to-face environment quiet or, you know, reserved, that anonymity that comes with the virtual world, particularly because they went through the avatar and they could name it, not even them, so there's even more anonymity often, because sometimes in a school online platform, you might still be made to have your first name as your, you know, detail when you post something on a discussion board, whereas with this being an avatar, can be very much, you know, like you could look like a girl when you're actually a boy. You know, it could, yeah, there's that, and it kind of it's even broader in that sense, which, you know, some students they really like. I think a lot of some of the boys that I teach, even when they are on like Minecraft or these discussions and groups that come with those sorts of environments, that connection that they like from that is, I think, something that they really enjoy. It's sort of, I don't know. Yeah.
No, I think that's actually quite true. So there's the notion of the space allowing a little bit of, it's a motivating factor for people. You conceal a bit about your identity. You could make the space an anonymous space.
Yeah.
In this Avaya space, you can log on to the space just with any name.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your name. I think there has been quite a bit of research on online discussion spaces where people have got pseudonyms.
Yeah.
Even at this university where the whole English language course was run that way, and the students found it actually quite liberating because they could say, they didn't know who the lecturer was either, so that even the lecturer was a pseudonym, and so it was very kind of engaging insofar as the students weren't able to identify who was actually saying what, and they just got into it because of
the
that.
Hierarchical kind of,
Yeah.
I guess, personality
Am I talking
that might go alongside with certain, you know, people as well.
So one, it may have some motivating factors, and I think there's probably other motivating factors if you think about it. So what else might be motivating apart from just being anonymous? Oh, have we got some here?
Oh no, Emily's just talking about music character development, you know, actually creating good for students who struggle with confidence.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. What I was going to say, should we get out of Avaya now and go back to...
Oh, okay.
I mean, you've got that whole...
I've got the whole...
You've got the whole presentation.
No, I'm not really. This is not that incredibly interesting. I mean, it's kind of a bit boring, really. I've just put some text together
the text
from the
is
readings.
Useful.
Yeah.
I think that people online are having trouble...
Writing on that board.
Oh, they're having trouble...
Working
between the two.
Okay.
I know it's doing my head in.
Yeah. Okay, so good. We're still getting a little bit disoriented or oriented, one or the other. I mean, after a while, this goes away. Has anyone been in an online text chat space where there's more than one student, like multiple students, just real-time text chat, where everyone's talking at the same time? There is no hierarchy.
Yeah.
You don't have any kind of opportunity for saying over and out. You just text chat. The conversations are multiple. It's like being at a dinner party where there's 5 conversations going at once. You tune into the one that you want to listen to, but you can obviously tune out and go on to the other one across the other side of the table. But it's like that in this Avaya space as well. There's so many things going on, you have to get your head around the fact that you just want to tune in on one thing. So many things in Second Life are like that too. There's people wandering around, there's kind of exciting things happening all around you, but if you're trying to learn something, you do need that focus. It needs to be, you just pay attention to the thing that you want to pay attention to. I think Avaya limits that a bit more, and that's maybe why Melbourne Uni is looking at Avaya.
Not flying's good.
Yeah, not flying is good. The jumping was very interesting that Ben was doing earlier, but in Second Life, the flying is a very big distraction. Very attractive to fly.
Avaya space, can you can't think of the word, sort of set it up in a certain way? Because I'm thinking, when you think of, I know it's like discussions like augmented reality and things like that. So if you want to make sort of the space fit something that you're doing at the time, to say if you're looking into something to a history or something, and if you could set up a space that fits the theme or the era or whatever it might be that you're
investigating. So I'm going to stop you because I don't know if people online could hear that. The discussion was, could you change the space to represent the period or the thing you're studying? And that's a fabulous idea, because if anyone's been to Second Life and looked at the, like you go to a university and it's just an exact copy of, and you go and think, what's the point? It's a lecture. there's a tiered lecture theatre with a lecturer at the front with PowerPoint slides. Like, why even bother? But there are other places where it's not quite like that. Sam's saying role-playing of 1920s Berlin. The London King's College at the London Institute at the London University have been working for years on a virtual world that's for dentists. So you can go in and you can actually, you can go into the teeth, but the crazy part about it is it's a medieval fort. So it's all about modern dentistry, and it's got haptics. And so, do you know about haptics? So with feedback, touch, and something I found out about dentistry, I was involved in a very small project here, and apparently that 10% of people have no sense of depth perception, and in dentists that's a real problem. Because as they drill through your teeth, they actually don't know how far they go. Oh, sorry. So they can do it in 3D worlds, or in three multi-dimensional world. They can actually create a tooth that they can drill into, and they can find out which people don't know when to stop and which people do. But the idea there, the one in King's College is this whole medieval world, because the guys who built it were dags, and it's all about modern dentistry. It's a big world.
Wow. And can I just say that Gregor Kennedy, who is here at Melbourne University, is doing a study of people in medicine learning how to use haptics, the same idea, drilling into skulls. So he's actually providing feedback, though, to them, so that I'm not sure if it's because of depth perception, but he's giving them feedback about whether or not they're going to kill the patient by drilling too fast, or whether they've gone to the right point in relationship to, and the haptics give a sense of feedback to you, to the drill, so you can actually feel it and which direction it's going. Now, why I mentioned Gregor Kennedy is that Gregor is also doing a study of this Avaya environment with Wollongong University and a few other places, but then their study is around using this environment for online conferencing, like for online communication of the nature that you might use Skype, say, or even our Hangouts. Basically what they're trying to work out whether or not there's any advantage in, so even our blended learning approach, they've had blended learning experiments or approaches where the students are in the classroom here and there's a whole gang of students who are on the screens in Avaya, and they're able to, be present, if you like, but as avatars.
I mean, when you think about it, looking at like even the Hangout, or when you have a Skype chat or something with someone, it's really artificial. You sit there and they've got your face, and you're not allowed to take your face away because it's rude. Whereas if you're in an actual room, you move around, you look around, somebody speaks. So the idea of the virtual classroom, virtual boardroom, could actually, work much better if people stop mucking around.
Well, they have in this room. Now, if you switched across to the laptop, I mean, if I just look around this, people are actually sitting there as if it was, well, no, some of them moved. There were a whole swag, Ben's sitting, but there's quite a few people sitting on these chairs in the room who are paying attention. I find it kind of strange, and I've been at lectures in Second Life where people don't fly around. They actually do attend the lecture and sit in a lecture theatre as if it was a lecture theatre to hear a speaker. And it is part of the process of familiarisation, I suppose. The space is like the space you'd expect to see a speaker in, and it does give you that focus. And everyone shuts up if they sit down, and it gives them an opportunity not to fly away, because once you're seated, you have to actually get up to fly. So it is actually a way of attending to something, very much like you would attend a lecture theatre, but it seems like an enormous amount of effort to go to. That is, build a lecture theatre requires a bit of energy in terms of programming and so forth to get a lecture theatre, or even this kind of meeting room space developed.
For you, even when you set up, say, those boards, things for people to add things to, did it take long to add those things?
No, again, somebody else has done the programming in this space and has actually set those spaces up, and some of those spaces, I don't know whether you can see these ones over in the corner, are just websites. That's just a website of Melbourne Uni over here, and I could go to it and click on...
It's almost like embedding a link within a wiki or...
Exactly. It's very similar, and this middle one here is basically just a PowerPoint presentation uploaded, very easy to upload. So there's no difficulty once somebody else has done all of the work for you, and Avaya, I imagine, provides you with the modules to pretty much build these kind of spaces. And that's the beauty of it. It's got a limited number of things, whereas Second Life has got both the local programmers and some source code where people are building whatever they damn well like, creating their own island and their own buildings, and it is more like being in a real world. It is called a world, Second Life. It's a world because it's so complex. There's so many things that you can attend to, and I think that's one of the advantages. I just wanted to mention that trying to think of the advantages is that people are motivated by, one, the unusualness of the space. Two, all these worlds are built on gaming engines. They use exactly the same technology that gamers are very familiar with. And for that reason, people who enjoy games, or people who just like the idea of a play environment would find it interesting. And I think that's one of the other things about learning, is that often learning is about play, and what you said earlier about anonymity does actually, it's more enjoyable if there's less consequence in play activity, where you can do your presentation and no one knows it was you. It's of no consequence whether you tripped over your words. Do you follow? Like, it's not as big a deal if we're trying to look for advantages in these kinds of spaces. Strangely, I don't know whether this actually works, but one of the websites that I looked up, which was actually EduWiki, it's not a EduTech wiki. It was talking about VR. I just went to it. Did actually say that one of the big advantages of virtual reality is its interactivity. And you can probably see that, like a game, it's very interactive. Things will actually happen. You can walk, you can sit down, you can talk, you can text. There's many things that you can do. You can click on things and they'll respond. But the EduTech Wiki saying that this is really related closely to the interactivity to Piaget's constructivism. And the notion of simulating interest, initiative, experimentation, discovery, play, and imagination as fundamental to the development of a child's capacity to learn. So, I mean, it's an old theory. Perhaps not.
I think I closed the Hangout.
Well, perhaps not completely sort of applicable. Well, I wonder if people can still.
What did I do?
Oh, don't worry. Don't. I can see it's actually.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
It's in Google, not Firefox.
It's in Safari? No.
No, I don't think it's in Google. So the live hang, if you press start again, just that one, it may actually start again.
Oh, there it is. Oh.
Well, don't press the play because that's actually, but maybe start would work.
Or if I just press it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, try it. Sorry, guys, we just and so going through these slides is just a matter of actually clicking on them. I think there's probably at the lectern there's a different way. I can go through them just like is it.
What happened?
I think we just closed it.
Oh, don't.
Is it?
We're still here. We can see you. We can see you. We're still here.
Okay, so
Yes, hang on, David.
Sorry, regarding question 1, virtual worlds give the users the ability to carry out tasks in difficult in the real world. This is quite common in America where they have huge military academies where they do a lot of war type scenarios. You actually have a designated commander or an officer sending the troops out forward, or you have fighter planes where you have a pilot commanding an aircraft and actually putting in real scenarios where testing the reaction of fighter pilots. So that's happening now, and that saves in terms of risk management because these pilots are worth millions of dollars in terms of training. They want to risk in the real field, real world. They do a lot of the scenario type stuff. It's big, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I think that would have to be regarded as a very big positive with these environments. The environments are actually very good for testing things out, for giving people opportunities to try things. Now, clearly, the American military would have much more realistic environments and much more kind of dedicated opportunities to try out games and shooting and, yes, firing weapons. But I suppose Flight Simulator is the kind of basic environment for learning how to fly a plane. And so that is actually completely one of the reasons why these environments are useful for learning. So I would actually, that's a kind of a baseline, I mean, a really important reason to establish that it gives an experience which is close to reality. It's not exactly reality, and there's no consequence about flying your plane through a building or anything like that. It's not going to be that dangerous. I might do the second one here. Maybe we'll finish on this.
And then
Virtual
we'll
worlds persistence allows for continuous and growing social interactions. And this is the bit that I wanted to get to, only insofar as I find these environments a bit hard for collaboration, or in fact, much of the writing that we had for the readings this week doesn't go into a lot of detail about collaboration. There's a lot about cognitive learning experiences and constructivist kind of Piagetian kind of getting into the experimental and play kind of activity, which is mostly focused on individuals. But if you were thinking about doing this course and doing a project in Avaya or Second Life, you'd have to think about how the community could be established. And I think there is a little bit of that in the persistence of the environment. The environment doesn't go away, and you can actually record things in the environment.
Should we try it next year?
And I would definitely not want to try it next year. Do you want it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it takes so long to learn it that establishing the community would require a little bit more attention than what we've been dealing with. So it's easier to establish communities in social networking, so much easier than it is in, and I think we got that happening in the Ning pretty easily, eventually. But in a virtual environment, I think you'd have to really be dedicated users and want to, one, learn how the actual movement and the technology worked. Then you'd want to kind of establish a reason for being in that, which might be because you've got real activities to do that may actually be more realistic in as a play environment, or as I think Kath was saying, finding things, but being given search activities. Why would you just do lectures in there? It appears not to fill that function any more than, say, I know, Google Hangout. I mean, Google Hangout is just as good and sort of easier.
So setting team tasks and
maybe
creating,
Can I give you an example of one that I...
Go on, and then we'll get out of the...
This is only because you raised the notion of a real kind of task. And I know when I did my first, or one of my classes in Second Life, I was trying to show students how to walk around in a space that was for educators. wasn't my space, but there was a dedicated space for one other, you know, if you were just practicing, you could go and I was just showing my students how to walk around. I said, whatever you do, don't fly. Please don't fly away from me. I need you to stay with me. Just walk. And when I walk one way, we'll walk this way, and this is how you do it. And then all out of the blue, all of these characters dropped from the sky. I've told you this story. All these characters dropped from the sky. They were beautifully dressed. Like some were angels, some were soldiers. There was a drunk who kept falling over. All of these people who clearly were highly evolved, that is, people who'd been set up by the person to do things and to look certain ways, not like we just look boring like you do in a bar. And then they set up bazookas on the ground, like little rocket launchers on the ground. And if you looked up in the sky, there was a hover jet sitting up in the sky, and they were trying to load the bazookas with grenades to shoot at the hover jet. And I, being, you know, I thought that I knew a little bit about this, I said, oh, look, I'll show you. I can get in that plane. Because when you point at things in Second Life, the same in Avaya, you can actually sit in things. So any tram or car, you point at the seat with your cursor, and you're allowed to sit in them usually if they're a thing built by somebody else. So I said, I'll just go up, and I flew up when I told the students not to fly. I flew up and pointed at the seat. Now clearly that was a very stupid thing to do, because I either got hit by one of the rockets or they didn't want me to get in that plane, and somehow I was actually underwater. Like immediately as I tried to point at it, I was underwater miles and miles away. I'm pretty sure I couldn't find my students after that. But what I think was happening was that those students were learning about how to design games. So they were there practicing developing a gaming environment, which is a shoot 'em up, but they were just practicing that in Second Life, and you could do it very easily. They had to build that plane, they had to build their characters, they had to build a bazooka. Yeah. The launch of a rocket that would, this is a bit I'm not sure about, actually hit me out of the sky, I think is impossible in Second Life, but I'm not sure how that happened.
You were telling me.
But maybe they did actually break the code of Second Life and work out a way to make someone move away from
and when you get lost,
explode.
You're gone, aren't you?
Absolutely.
It's so lost.
Well, you may as well just, you have to have a place you go back to.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had Skype working at the same time, so I could tell people that I was lost, and they understood that I was a bit silly.
So what we might do is get out of Avaya.
We might get out of Avaya,
Thank
everyone.
Ben for his time. Yes, David?
Sorry, just give me another idea. I did this last year with a group of Year 5 and 6s. NASA got a huge collective virtual world scenarios on Mars, and you can actually choose a Mars rover and actually track this vehicle over Mars with a 3D dimension looking down. You can then use the instruments on the rover to actually do soil samples and then test the air, test all sorts of stuff. So it had a lot of scientific practicals nationalities behind it. The kids absolutely loved it. They were very absorbed, and based on there was a series of questions which then they were instructed to find and actually use it. So there was no, the kids were instructed to do these things, but they were pretty much going where they wanted to go. And it's a brilliant, brilliant virtual reality of Mars concept. We're actually taking real photos of what they've done for the last 20 years put together.
Wow. Wow.
Well, in fact, that's one of the things they said about the virtual environments. Often people try and create real environments. I mean, there's different sorts of virtual environments. Some of them are like Second Life, which are close enough to being like a real world. Many of them are fantasy environments like World of Warcraft, where the creatures and the avatars are actually unreal, like they're fantasy. And then there's also the experimental environments like going to another planet or dealing with places that you can't go to, which again is a very common thing to do with virtual environments. So this one is actually an environment trying to recreate a learning environment or a teaching environment.
Did anyone, we've only had one leader so far, did anyone look at the Fallon article, which was just about the avatars? Or what was the other article? Sorry, I had it here. Hugh and Chang. You got that one. Do you want to talk about it?
I actually got an activity, but I don't know.
An activity, that'd be good. We've been sitting around for all day. You can do an activity at home too. Yeah, I'm just looking at what the hell's on the back of my... There, here we go. Stand here. Sit here. I'll get rid of...
I'm just going to look at... Do I have to have my face where I can see my
Depends
face?
what they want to see.
I'm just going to look at one part of the article because I knew there was a lot of people on this one, and so I just wanted to discuss one part. I want to talk particularly about the communication. The reason this took my interest is I haven't had anything to do with avatars, but my son is a master at it, and at his wedding, he had a whole table of people I didn't know, and I said, well, who are these people? And he said, oh, they're my virtual world friends that he's met online. And so he, at his wedding, had a whole table of these people that he knew, and they were all ages, and but he'd met them online, and they'd eventually gone for and had a coffee or a drink or whatever and met up, and now they actually travel interstate, and they're going this Sunday up to the soccer. And so he came over last week, and so I quizzed him because I knew I was talking tonight. And so we had a really good discussion about the pros and cons. And he said, well, look, I'm going to talk to you about the pros, because he said you all know the cons. If we overdo anything, if we don't do anything in moderation, then it has negative side effects. And so he said, but I want to talk to you about the cons. And so I particularly want to look at the communication spaces. And so he said to me, you know, he comes home from work, he goes to the gym, he's done his work, he does his chores, and he's had his teens. He says, what do most families do? He says, well, they sit down and might watch an hour or two. He said, well, with my wife and I, we just jump on our gaming. They've got a TV each and put their headphones on, and they communicate with one another, and they connect with their friends all over, and they talk. And he said it's a great, and I said, well, what are the learning aspects of it? And he said, well, take for instance soccer. And he said, we do this soccer one at the moment. We've organised a competition and we all play each other. And he says they get online and they chat, and he said, and it's very exciting and things like that. And they're actually going up to the soccer this weekend. And I said, well, what did you learn? And he said, well, it's a real world thing. So you get all the names, you know all the names of the players, you know the rules of the game, you know, and he's learned all this, and he never grew up playing soccer, so he doesn't know anything about soccer before then. And as a PE teacher, I've noticed that I only teach up to grade 4, and when I ask the kids about the rules, just in the last couple of years, they've been saying, yeah, I know the rules to that. And I said, well, where did you learn? Do you play outside? He says, no, I learned it on the wiki, on the games that they play. So they're learning the rules and everything for it. And so I'm inquisitive now, because I think that's a really positive way, and kids at that age often need a very visual environment to be able to pick things up quicker. I noticed that at that age it's very difficult for me to teach them, you know, some of the rules and them to understand it for the first time. So so I've got a couple of things here. There's just sheets, and I like maybe a discussion at your table. I'll just give an example. I've just pulled out statements off the reading. There's also one page here from Fallon, because he was good on the communication ones as well. Here, this is one of them. The claim is supported by the work undertaken by Kratz and Rice, who founded evidence that cyberspace relationships facilitated by the use of virtual environments generally prove to be robust and long-lasting, which is evident in my son's relationships. While Walger claims that cyberspace can act as a support for particular social activities and relationships, rather than acting as commonly thought as a substitute for the real experience. My son said when they met up with people, he said it was very easy to relate to them because they already felt they knew each other and had a lot in common from the online experience. He said, and it particularly commented about those people that are quieter or not as confident. He said they particularly, he said you never would have thought that when you're online with them. And it gave them a lot of confidence. There was another one. As a common misconception that engagement in virtual environments is typically a lone player scheduled in front of his or her computer. And that's my son really refuted that, and he said, no, you know, where else can you get online and, you know, and chat every night? And there was one thing that it said in here as a disadvantage was that they couldn't keep up with the texting, but he never mentioned that. I don't know if that's because that's an older article, but he said they wear headphones and they just chat. So that eliminates, I guess, if that's becoming a problem. I don't know if that's a later transition of the virtual worlds that you can do chatting over headphones to one another without having to text and type and things like that. But what I thought I'd do, the other two areas is what Nick and Ted were talking about. One was the simulation of space, and they said that the students liked using the virtual worlds because that ability to fly and move around freely, to socialise and meet new people and to experience virtual field trips. And the simulated experiences, the learners in a sense were embodied in the learning context and content, as opposed to the traditional flat one-dimensional text-driven displays. And the other, the experiential, was exactly what you were talking about before. Like before he went to this university in Singapore, he got on the virtual world and he could find out where everything was, where the lecturers were, where the common rooms, where the food halls were, the libraries and everything before he got there. So I'll just give out, I'll give out one table communication, one experiential and one, and if you just want to chat, any ideas from that?
What about the people online? Can we hold one up?
Yeah. Will it?
Oh, will it really? Oh, it is backwards. We can flip it, can't we? Or they can flip it. No, we'll type it in. I'll type it in because I just put it in.
Pick a small one then.
Just to talk about the communication part. You find that if they have problem texting, the people on virtual, they will actually start to communicate in code. Yeah. So the
shorter words.
Yeah. So everything becomes
And what's interesting about our own Google Plus or the Hangouts are that occasionally people prefer, because of the, I imagine, the background sounds and the kind of confusion that can happen when you've all got microphones, that it's actually easier to text. So there has been, because of headphones use and people getting more sort of used to the gaming spaces and those sort of spaces where you can use the voice over IP kind of audio, they mute. They obviously have got systems in place to make sure that when one person's speaking, the other people are muted, and they just get into the habit of muting their microphone automatically, I think. And that's why it's so much faster to speak when you're online playing a game than to text. But there would be occasions where I imagine that people would text, probably. Your son may do it on occasion if they're playing a game and there needs to be some message sent to everyone, or
what's cameraman?
Cameraman is that you control which one gets the camera, so you can actually make it if any one of the students be.
So if I show this up, it's going to be back to front.
But let's just type it into the text box.
Yeah, okay, that's a lot of, okay.
It's not that much.
It's not.
Just the yellow, I hope. Is it? Or everything?
No, it's okay. It's not reversed. Wow,
it's not
look at
reversed. I can't believe that.
It's only reversed for us.
Oh, that's because we're looking at it. And we need to know what our face, because it is our face.
Yes,
there.
of course.
We think
it's like
it
looking
looks
into a
weird.
monitor.
Yeah, we think it's weird. Oh, so if you hold things
up,
they see it as if it was the right one.
Sorry, I can't keep it still. It might be better to type it in. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We got 10 minute savings late to bed last night. Very old adjustments.
Take it.
Projects.
I could read it out. Is that a good idea, Anne? I think I'll read it out.
Yeah, we've now got.
So I'm just going to read it out, everyone,
Yeah.
because Nick's talking. Hopefully you can hear me. So I'm going to turn this around and say communication spaces. 3D virtual worlds can offer an incomparable environment for creating spaces where teachers and learners who are separated by distance can engage in social activity of learning. So the question is, what are your thoughts and experiences? So 3D worlds can offer an incomparable environment for creating spaces for teachers and learners who are separated by distance, and they can engage in social activity, which is one of the areas that I wanted to talk about. For example, using avatars and virtual worlds can overcome the limitations of text-based computer-mediated communication by giving users the means to display in real-time non-verbal communication cues such as gestures and emotional states, e.g. happiness, that facilitate communication. It's a rather longish bit there, but the notion is, have you got any experiences? What are your thoughts about 3D spaces providing opportunities for better communication because you can see an object, see an avatar in a social sense? Does it make it more social to see an avatar than to see a text document or a text chat environment?
No.
Yes, Belinda, I think you're right. You can see that in Skype, perhaps. Maybe just one person at a time, though.
So this one is the author, and that's the author's file. And Anne's going to review.
Wow,
that's awesome. Okay. Yeah. So where are you?
Down here.
You're going to review Sarah's.
Okay.
Tricia's going to review. So when you put yours there, Tricia will come in, click on that, read it, and then upload her response. And there are two examples. Well, there are two examples somewhere. Yeah. So there's one there.
Great.
Good. Strange kind of stuff. Always is when we do virtual world. It's almost impossible.
Last one, because up until, I'm sorry, today, up until
But that would be a safe side.
I was thinking, oh, if it's like this, I don't see the point. I had it, what Benedict was really interested about. I didn't get it.
No, that was really interesting.
It was actually.
Yeah, you don't have that.
It's not just all the, I mean, I think, for me, I've tried it. Gosh,
Yeah.
You can't physically go there. Other areas, but then you can do that.
somebody comes up and says, oh, can I give you something?
Satisfy
I don't know.
those.
That's about it, really. That's about it. So, yeah, maybe
Yeah, that's right. No, I thought
that was really
that
useful.
was good.
Yeah.
Showed a different side.
Great.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, but she is.
No worries.
She was up until 12 last night. So she needs to go to sleep.
Gee, they should have a dream holiday.
She went to sleep quite well. She went to sleep 6:30, and then she woke up and didn't get back to sleep. So I was like, oh, doing well, but no. All right. See you next week.
Setting it up and then same discussion we had when it comes to other online platforms. If it's additional to some face-to-face thing that you're doing, you use that. And some of the virtual world, that's some concepts even coding, that's probably part of more educators and that's even the challenge for some in just setting up.
Just almost like testing a complex outcome to
Yeah, things like sporting history. Yeah. So use it. Yeah, to sign up to set it up. Yeah. Yeah. Because that would alleviate those concerns for time or the lack of understanding or ability to actually know how to go about it. If it was there, it was better view.
How they go.
I don't really mean that we can't use it, but just it is a bit hard to get your head around.
Yeah,
Well, just tonight was enough.
You just everyone stays at home.
Oh, I see. Yeah. If you did it that way, maybe
1 week on, 1 week off, or something on Monday.
it'd force you to do it. If, in this kind of environment, you're paying attention to too many things, perhaps.
Yeah, but you wonder how the interactions would work. Everyone just be, spontaneous interactions.
I think you would get used to it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I just noticed, just as people were saying goodbye, just then, they're all waving and jumping and clapping. So they actually worked out that you could show gestures. Huh?
I couldn't work out how to sit down.
You just point at the thing.
Oh, right.
And click on it with your cursor.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to show them with the. What I thought the jump jet would let me do was get me into the jump jet somehow. But for some unknown reason, it might have been my fault. Maybe I did something that just threw me out of balance, and I just let go. Or
You're doing another subject next semester.
We were going to do some presentations, some ideas tonight.
I was hoping to, but nobody's booked it in.
Right.
And so one of the boys actually created the history of the time. He created in stop motion created Lego figures of the Lego figures moving around the screen and having a conversation about how to do up your tie. And
Just a
then
matter of
so he created one on that and showed it in video rather than actually. Whereas I was like, how
gigantic
he shows that that's
the thing that's right there is quite often in the sense that
enjoy.
you're you need to get to the lecture and you can value
You might ask for feedback to the tables if you prepare, like just that one person. In minutes, to do it.
$9 million.
Oh, I don't need to text. I can actually talk, can't I? I forgot. Yes, I'm not sure what we're going to do with presentations tonight. We're about to get feedback from the groups.
Just find out what the others have.
I like that one, Belinda. It's actually.
It's almost like if we're do eventually spaces and directions sit in the direction of the stage, what it might be. So it's almost like for us, the human need is something that's easier for us to figure out.
Oh. One of these be able to talk, and we actually use the.
So many of us.
Well, it is plugged in. Does it actually work?
Will somebody from this group be able to respond over the microphone? Yes? You will, won't you? In a physical, right. Anyway, we're trying to look at yeah.
Okay, so I haven't talked about this stuff.
See, look, we got this, we got 1, 2, all these different.
This is what I was saying before. It's like being at a dinner party.
Yeah, yeah.
Have multiple threads,
yeah,
all happening at the same time. You just have to focus on one. You can't actually do all of them.
Biases is semester long, but it is face to face.
Did they get it? Did they get one?
Did they got? Yeah, they got one.
Yeah. But they didn't talk about it. They talked about the holidays and going overseas.
Actually, it's a really interesting discussion about discussions.
Yeah. So maybe you should grab the.
You can sit down and just leave the mic there. I think it works.
Do you want the person coming up, maybe?
Yeah. Take your time.
Sarah, do you want to go first? Do you want me to tell them what's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just about to have one person from each table just come and share their discussion. And we'll start with...
It doesn't matter that was
that mic works there, so that mic stays there.
But Sarah can actually pick it up and say
hello.
Yeah, but your microphone's on the computer as well.
Oh,
That microphone is for this person to sign from.
Okay. My table, we're talking about, one of the quotes was about simulation of space. Did you want me to read the quote? Read it to people?
Yeah.
Or, okay. So with regards to student satisfaction, research overall seems to suggest that students like using the virtual worlds because of the following reasons: the ability to fly, move around freely in a 3D space, to socialise and meet new people, and to experience virtual field trips and simulated experiences. Learners, in a sense, were embodied in the learning content and context, as opposed to the traditional flat, one-dimensional, text-driven digital displays. Then we had sort of what was our thoughts or experiences on that. I sort of shared about, I guess, even the link with augmented reality, which I know through even the use of iPads in schools, a lot of schools are using some of the augmented reality apps. I sort of shared, I know, one of the e-learning coordinators from Kerry Donoval, I know they went on a camp to Sovereign Hill, and they then linked sort of augmented reality pre and post the camp experience as well. It allows us, we also then talked about how with the virtual worlds it could allow the space to be historic, which we kind of mentioned before as a whole group as well. The real world linked to the virtual world, it kind of makes that connection even stronger where possible. Or even that sense of old world items, whether you have actually items or sort of things even within the space that are linked in a historical context in some way. Freedom to do things which you can't always do in the real world as well. When we thought of something like the flying, you know, that's that sense of freedom, or in that sense of play as well. Engagement and freedom from that. That sense of really enriching the learning environment or the learning opportunities for students. Provides experiences without the danger as well. Things that we sometimes can't do due to cost. So say if you wanted to go on an excursion to another city or place, or even go overseas to another country, you can't actually physically do that with your school budget, say, or just with time. Whereas if you can somehow have a virtual world set up to, I guess, expose students to that place, space or time, it can obviously take that form rather than being obviously face-to-face experience. Something then we'll talk about the negatives, in a sense even with virtual worlds, was obviously whether it's the time to set up, maybe more complex for educators to set up, whether it's coding or programming involved, and it might be then sort of beyond a lot of teachers or educators' skills, and for many it might just seem too daunting, which in a sense, you know, embedding IT into the curriculum is already for some teachers such a barrier. This sort of environment could be more complex again for some. And then we're talking about where there's a market to have certain virtual worlds set up already for teachers to be able to access, so something like a medieval world, or sort of a historical sense, or a actual, whether it's another country's sort of space set up, so that schools can then access those already set up for them, whether it's paying a subscription fee or something, that alleviates a lot of those possible barriers along the way, or the actual setting up is done for you, and then you can just sort of log in and use the virtual world. Could be beneficial in that way. I think.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you. That's actually, what was I going to say? No, it actually occurred to me then too, while you're talking, that the people who are on the Hangout, they're far more passive, even though they're typing and listening. There's a sort of remoteness, or sort of an isolation. Whereas if you're in a virtual world, you're actually actively engaged, aren't you? So there is that sense of something's different. The sense of being's different. Sorry.
It is an interesting. I mean, I did want to pick up the weird thing is that connecting to a virtual world can assist with making, you know, sort of judgments about the real world. Like if you go to Sovereign Hill or whatever, and you have an augmented reality, or maybe a historical space set up for you to sort of go into depth about the history of Sovereign Hill. I mean, it's kind of an interesting, weird connection to reality. Like you can actually make that connection hopefully stronger by going to a virtual space. Maybe it's possible. That's what you.
Yeah, because I guess in the sense that it's actually can't actually go there anyway. Whereas if you can create it in that sense, it's almost like go back in time and being there in space.
Great,
and time.
that's a good point. Okay.
Guys, can I just mention that not all of us are passive here online. We are sitting here and we are actively being involved.
What are you drinking?
We have discussions about things as things are going on. There are a number of people that go in and out and not necessarily do contribute, but there are many of us that are actively participating here. Whether we join in with the conversation by turning on mics or whatnot, we sometimes do or don't do that. Otherwise, we're having a conversation in here, and you can see by the chat that as people are being able to say things and discuss things, we are definitely very actively participating in that as well. And we're here, and we are doing everything that we can to be actively involved in a room where where they are as well. That's why the other week I asked you to turn the mic back on when you muted the mic, because no longer did we actively feel like we were part of the room. We were then passive because we couldn't hear, we couldn't see what's going on there. So we were put into a passive position. But no, definitely we're not passive here at all, and I really would hope that you're not feeling like that we are being passive here. We are doing our best to be able to contribute as much as we can without constantly seeming like we're interrupting as people are in the middle of things.
Yeah,
good point.
Sorry,
that's a really good point, and I hope I didn't offend anyone by saying you're passive. It's
no, you were just making a connection between the Second Life or the virtual world being active, and there's a possibility that if you were in a conference, there is a role for a conference attendance and a role for the speaker. Now, Belinda took on the role of the speaker. Yeah. And that's where I say that, that's exactly what you should do in a conference. You should take that role every now and again. And yes, it's a bit hard to get your voice heard because you are online and we control it.
And we control it. And also only what you see, because unless we turn it around, you don't realise there's actually nobody in this room.
Yes, it's just Nick and I.
They've all gone.
That's a good point, though, Belinda.
That's a really good point. No, thanks for that. Come, we all type. Three other people see what we're trying to say. Exactly.
Does anyone online want to say what was spoken about in relationship to the item that I gave? And now I can't remember the exact context, but it was to do with communication online and.
Turn the camera for us.
Okay, camera's getting turned around.
There we go. Keep talking, Ted. They can still hear you.
I can't remember, but there was a difference between the communication in a chat environment and a virtual reality environment, whether the communication was different online. I think that was the context of the question we were looking at. Yeah, you can read it.
There we go.
Well, maybe they can read it. If anyone online wants to just say quickly what was chatted about, I know you did it in text chat.
Yeah, there we go. Right.
Just unmute your mic and just say.
They were too busy.
Too busy.
They were too busy looking at the room.
Oh, okay. You read it.
Okay,
Where's your camera, Ted?
3D virtual worlds can offer an incomparable environment for creating spaces where teachers and learners who are separated by distance can engage in the social activity of learning. For example, the use of avatars in virtual worlds can overcome the limitations of text-based computer-mediated communication by giving users the means to display in real time non-verbal cues such as gestures and emotional states that facilitate communication. So what are your thoughts and experiences?
Now, this group online did have some immediate thoughts and experiences. I think they were sort of similar to what Belinda was saying, that we could do all of this pretty much. I think earlier up there was some comment about in Skype anyway, so why are we even bothering? Can I have it? I'm just scrolling up, you guys, on the... Oh, I think we started talking about the next semester. So sorry.
God.
does anyone want to have a go at just doing a bit of quick summary? Some people find it very difficult to speak online. They'd rather have the benefit of doing a text chat. That was Joanna. Joanna, do you want to say something about that?
Hang on, is that microphone on now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that I guess someone else mentioned that it's about personal needs for the students, and I was saying that personally I prefer the text option because it gives you the opportunity to think about what you're going to say and frame it in your mind before you have to put it out there. But I know for a lot of students, they might have difficulty with spelling, or they might struggle with written language, for instance, dyslexia, and so then something that's not text-based is going to be an advantage for them.
Yeah.
And then we sort of started talking about how with the chat it's really difficult that it kind of goes in several directions at once because multiple people will be typing something, and then by the time it's up there, everyone's typed something, and so then it's hard to respond to a particular thread. And thinking about how you might have to overcome that, and we didn't really come to a conclusion there, but I guess like that idea of that virtual world, you can have that physical avatar, and you could have something like you have in a physical classroom. Like I know primary teachers who have things like the talking stick that the kid has to be holding the talking stick and it's their turn. So you could actually do something like that in a virtual world where you can't in a text-based chat.
Okay, so pluses and minuses for text, and some pluses for virtual world chat, which might have some kind of visual prompt for when people are going to speak, rather than putting your hand up.
You put your hand up in Avaya. You put your hand up in Collaborate
and Illuminate.
Yeah.
Whereas we can't do that in the chat, and so that was where we sort of ended up with 6 different discussions.
Yeah. Good point.
Beauty. I must say I like the surroundings you're in there, Joe.
Oh yeah, I'm up in Queensland, so.
Oh, right. I thought you were in bed.
Well, I don't really have anywhere else to be in Queensland. So just hanging out here.
Yeah, well, why not? Why not? That's where I'd like to be. But
so, does that table want to do a summary?
Anne's hands up.
Oh, Anne. Oh, sorry. Go.
Anne's hands up. Hang on. There she is. See you, Joe.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I think I said it in the chat as well. There have been some virtual worlds created as well for students with autism, where they've used it for social skills training for them, where they can actually practice their social skills and conversations in these virtual environments, which is less confronting for them than trying to practice with real people. So that has a lot of potential, I think, for people who struggle with one-to-one communication and having to read facial cues and eye contact and things like that. They can still practice these conversations and practice these skills in that virtual environment. That's all.
Well, thanks, Anne. I think that was actually mentioned in the readings too, especially about the learning language. I'm not saying it's the same for autism, but for language learning, there were opportunities for virtual environments to respond automatically to language learners, so that there may actually be an avatar that is a robot. That's the one I was sort of interested in. Is it possible to have not just real avatars with, again, behind or in front of real people, but can you actually have an avatar that would respond in a communication way, which I think they were referring to probably text communication in that article online. But it'd be lovely if there was a voice communication one that could decode what you were saying and whether you were saying it correctly in the correct language.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is pronunciation ones that respond.
Yeah.
That if you don't get the word pronounced correctly, if you see the word and then try and say it, that the response would be, this is how you say it. It might be nice to have an avatar to communicate with rather than just hear it. Yeah. Anyway.
Good. I'm starting to look at the time.
All right.
Because I have to talk about assessment. But did anyone have some final comments? Because it's worth discussing. Yeah, probably not. Don't know. Well, yeah, that's fine. All right, good. Thank you, Trish. And apologies, we didn't get... It's always a difficulty doing this class where we do virtual worlds because they never work properly. But this was actually okay. But trying to mix the four. I think next year we'll spend more time. Just make it entirely virtual.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, bang, nobody face to face. It's entirely virtual, which I've done in past years, and I just get emails saying my computer won't load, or it's not, I can't get in the door, or where are you? And it's just, anyway, that's those things. Doing it as a one-off, you always run into those, all the technical issues, as Sunny said. Now, Kath put up an indication that she was going to present her project, and we just sort of went right away from that, and we didn't have any project discussion whatsoever. I'm not going to say you've got 5 minutes now, because I don't think that's fair. I think what we really need to do, and it's really important that people present their projects, and I think having a good 5 to 10 minutes, or a 10-minute time where you can actually have a structured presentation of your project. And on the Ning, I've put some advice there, I believe, under project presentations. Where did I put it? Maybe it was in that email I sent out. So I'll put that in there. I sent out an email that talked about, your rationale, who your audience is, why you've done what you've done, what you hope to achieve, what you found out, as well as the challenges. Because the finding out about the community that you're trying to establish and the reason for having it is really, really important in terms of this subject. Some of you have well, pretty well everyone submitted their projects. If you hadn't seen yet, I was having a discussion with Rebecca, I think, and Belinda and Sunmi online before chatting, and I was being really stupid. Anyway, luckily for me, I think Sunmi's created a nice table under project reviews. So under the assessment tab, there's a thing called project reviews, and I'll ask you all to just go in, link your file, your project file, next to your name. Now, in some cases there'll be a link. Now I know, David, yours is a very big file, and it needs an invitation to Google Docs. That's fine. Whoever's doing yours, Anthony, you can send him the link.
Do you want you to take all the photos off then?
I don't think so. I don't think, no, the photos add. It's just he needs the link to it.
Who's he?
Anthony. Yes. Because you sent me an invite, so he needs to have the invite.
This man?
Him. Yeah.
What? You need an invite.
Talking about you, not to you.
David's project.
So, about what the cutoff is for people to upload the projects, so people can. No, I want the projects uploaded immediately. They're all in, so they really need to go because we've only got a limited amount of time for people to read them and review them. There are, I think, 2 that haven't come in yet, and they've spoken to me. So, but I believe we've got pretty well just everything there. I'll check to see who hasn't, and if I've allocated somebody, I'll get in touch with them. But I really think there's already about 5 of them have been linked immediately. So if you've got an invitation to a special place, if it's private in that it's confidential, then I think rather than post it on there, just communicate with the person who's reviewing and say, here's the link to my site. I can't share it publicly, and that's fine. And if you make that whatever caveat.
PDF. I know that I saw that question was up there earlier. Just if it was, say, a Word document, do you want it converted to a PDF?
No, I'm happy with Word documents, yeah. But I really think I agree with some. It should be tonight. People can get their projects done. They're already done. It's just a question of go to edit, link to this file, upload it, done. Now, please be very careful when you're looking at which one's which. I've had trouble before in doing this, who reviews what. On the left-hand column, it says author, and in brackets, being read. That's the person, that's where you submit your project. On the right-hand column, it says reviewer. So the person whose name is in the reviewer column is the one who does the review. I know that sounds terribly logical, but it has caused some problems in the past. So, for example, Aaron reviews Rebecca, Anne reviews Jonathan, Anthony reviews David, Belinda does Kieran, David does Emily, Iman does Ying, and so on down there. If in doubt, send me an email. But it's really important that you contact your reviewer with any private invitation stuff that you might need to give them. See, I know Joe's given us an invitation to a wiki. There's a few people who have sent us invitations. So you have to make sure that your reviewer has the same invitation, and that can be done through the Ning with a private email, you know, a private chat to that person. In terms of the review itself, there are I've put up two examples from a couple of years ago. I know Belinda asked some questions and about, you know, how we are supposed to assess each other's. You aren't assessing each other's projects. You're reviewing it for them. You're looking at the kinds of things you're trying to find out what they will tell you what they tried to do, and you're saying, I really like the way you've approached this. I can see that the community is going to work this way and that way, and then you might say, you might want to consider something else. And of course, when you're saying you might want to consider, you'd say, well, you know, according to so-and-so, these are the types of connections that communities. Belinda did not ask. Sorry, Belinda. It wasn't. It was Rebecca asked. There you go. Sorry. It was Rebecca. That's fine. So the idea is that you are writing constructive, positive, helpful feedback. Ted and I do the assessment part of it, and hopefully that'll be constructive, positive feedback as well. But in terms of what you're reading, and if you look at the one on one of the ones, the Open Door project, and it's, you know, it says, is a project designed to encourage greater parent engagement in the school. So there's a brief description. As Jane acknowledges, increased parental engagement in the school and strong bonds between school and home life is associated with improved learning outcomes. So, you know, it's just really sets the scene and then talks about, you know, one of the most fundamental challenges to parental engagement in this situation is lack of external settings to engage members. So, you know, how are the members going to engage? So it's really looking quite deep. Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about because you don't know what the project was. But it really goes into the kind of quite detailed review of what the person's project is. Now, Belinda's asked, I'd like to know when the latest to be able to upload is so that we can start reviews. Yes, sorry, asking tonight. Possibly tomorrow. Yep. Yeah, everybody has submitted, so you just now go to the Ning. It's about a 2-minute job. Bling, done. Okay. Those who think you talk too much. No, you don't. Anyway, so any questions any more questions? So basically, we are reviewing others' project for further improvement or strength of that community. Yes, you're a critical friend. The idea here, and you've got 700 words to find that kind of. Have you thought about, or 750, is it? So you've got that 750 words, not including references, but including in text citation, in which to provide support and advice to the person you're reviewing. You know, I've just been a critical friend to a number of schools in a project, and it's a really nice thing to do, because you look in depth at what they're doing and you say, well, what about if you thought about so-and-so? You know, this is a fabulous idea and I really like the way you're connecting that community. I wonder, had you thought about that? Or expand this section. You know, it's kind of, it's so much of a nicer way than you know, criticising somebody's work. They're constructive reviews. And I must say that in the numbers of years that I've done this kind of assessment, I think there was only ever once where somebody sort of was inappropriate, and I don't know why she did that, but it was just something happened. I thought, oh God, here we go, we're going to have fights in the class. But the rest of the time, they're just delightful, and the feedback is so much richer than the feedback that Ted and I can give, because we just have to read them and mark them and next. So, I do believe everyone has their assignments back, essays back. Yes, everybody. There's nobody. There was only one person I couldn't. Yeah, that's done. So, thank you, everybody.
Can I just ask, sorry, with the project presentations, that's next week?
Ooh, yes, next week project presentations. Put your name up on there and think about it, because this is really important. What are we now? The 7th of October. We've got. We do have the 28th down as a date if we want it. And I really think that depends on how many project presentations we get through, because I want to see everybody's project. I think it's so helpful. And if you're smart, you can get your presentation up early, and it helps the examiners understand, and it helps your reviewer understand what you're doing. I mean, it really creates another aspect for us to understand what you're trying to do.
And just ask, are we expecting everyone to get their projects presented?
I'd like everyone's. I really would. What have we got? 20, 30? That's 10, 30. That's, I can't do that much maths.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
But let's see how we go. Not everybody will want to.
When you say present, do they just talk about it, or?
But you know, 5 to 10 minutes of a structured presentation where they talk about it. Doesn't mean PowerPoint slides.
5 minutes.
5 to, well, 5, you know, 5 to 10. I don't want
10
people.
minutes will be here for 300
minutes. That's right.
But that mean next week, Secretary, then, just so we still do the reading discussion, like.
We'll start with project presentations next week. Yep, and the readings are there to be read, but we'll start with project presentations next week, and then we'll take it from there.
Nick,
yes, Emma. How many more? How many do you want? We've got 3 classes scheduled. The last one's the 28th of October. Can they be presented remotely? Absolutely they can. I don't care. I'm going to be here on the 28th. I'm leaving directly from here to go overseas. So if we don't have a class on the 28th, it just makes it easier. But the plane leaves at the same time, so it doesn't matter. So, what?
The
plane's not leaving any different time.
Yeah,
you know.
okay. Oh, it's not at this time.
No. But I need to know, because I've got to get my limo to pick me up.
Okay. I was quite happy for you to say that, so long as you said that you were going to open Google Plus.
Yeah.
And then you would
run it
remotely.
I'll do it from the business club.
Yeah. That's fine. The groovy business
I'm getting
class
excited here.
Internet access.
That's it. That's right. Anyway, enough frivolity. I would like to think that we can get things done in the next 2 weeks, and even if we met from the final week for a sort of, a good cheer or something would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everybody. Any other questions?
Can they be? Oh, we've done.
Yes, wonderful.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, all right.
I'm going to try and save this chat, guys, and I'm going to stop the broadcast.
Bye all.
Bye. Can I chat with you regarding my assignment? Kath wants to know.
Yes, you can. Where do you want to chat with me, Kath?
Just there.
Hang on. You're going live to everyone.
I'm just stopping.